there.
I think we're
All right, we've got a quorum. Woohoo!
Ooh, sorry, I'm going to mute here.
I know that Joel is on call, so he might not be able to, he wasn't sure if he'd be able to make it if he had to work. And Debbie Hall can't make it. She sent that stuff ahead of time, and Carrie can't make it. So I think we're just missing Adnan.
Dr.
Hal,
C.
yeah, Hal said he couldn't make it either.
Yeah, Hal can't make it. Yeah.
okay.
Okay. So we'll just go ahead and get started because we have a lot of stuff to go over tonight. I'm assuming all of you unfortunately saw the email from Nikki that she had to resign from her position due to work, which is so sad because she is such a great person, brought a great energy to the group and everything. And I completely understand where she's coming from. When work gets in the way like that, it's just hard, but that will bring up a discussion we'll need to have at some point about on leaves. So we'll talk about that a little bit later in the meeting. But so welcome everybody. Good to see everybody. So I guess I'll call us all to order, and the first thing we need to do is approve the minutes from the August meeting. So assuming everybody's read them and has had a chance to go through them.
I didn't get any corrections from anyone.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll move that the minutes be approved as presented.
Okay. So Daniel made the motion and Valerie seconded it. All in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
It's unanimous.
Okay. That's unanimous. So minutes are approved. Okay. I'm not going to go too deep into the finances, but Debbie did send everybody a copy of the finances for the club, and we're still doing pretty good. We're going to have a race director meeting next weekend on the 15th. No, this weekend on the 15th.
Yes,
this weekend. And I'm going to remind all the race directors that their budgets need to be into us by the end of October so that we can then start creating the budget to be approved at our November, December meeting to present to members at the January meeting. So that's kind of the timeline, but everything seemed to be looking good. I think the main thing is I looked at Pumpkin Ridge. It looks like that made a profit. That was the most recent one. So we're doing okay. Anybody have any questions about the finances?
I didn't see the spreadsheet. How do do?
Dual Duel, let's see here. Dual Duel made 1,484. So you made lots of money. Yay. Oop, you're muted.
But $35 an entry. So we'll call it a 50-50.
Yeah, there you go.
The banker called you yesterday.
Oh, and our
Investment.
investment person, I forget what his name is, who has our investments with Raymond James, just called to check in the other night. And I said we were going to be forming a finance committee, or we had formed a finance committee, but I don't think they've met yet. And that they'd be discussing what we wanted to do with our funds. So I said I'd let him know, but I said we were really happy. He said stuff has been going up. So we're in good shape with our investments. So cool. Okay. The first thing on our discussion topics is St. Mary's Academy. They have an annual auction in April. On April 5th, 2025. And last year we had several of our races donate some free entries to our races. So I just said I would check with you guys, and we'll check with the race directors on Sunday, but I'm assuming that we'd be okay with offering them a couple of free race entries for people to bid on at their auction. Does that sound okay to everybody?
Do you want to leave it up to the RDs, or you want the board to decide?
Oh, I think the RDs can decide what they want to give.
So I will add that to my agenda for Sunday
Yeah.
and check in.
If whatever they want to give, if they let you and me know, then we can let.
We created certificates.
We created certificates for them last year to give out.
Sure.
So
I will ask the RDs that question and get back to you.
cool.
Do we know what races were donated last year?
I want to say Turkey Trot. Mark, did you do Vernoni? I wasn't sure.
I think I did, Vernonia, yeah.
You
I
could
It
give it
was, and it
one.
was
Sounds good.
one entry for donation.
I thought it was one or two. I
It was
can't
at
remember.
least 1 or 2. I think Turkey Trot might have even had more than that. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that
I
sounds
would
good.
normally, if I was a race director, I'd normally take a pass on this, but I made a really big stink at one of our meetings recently about not having enough comps to give away, and I didn't give away hardly any. So I will absolutely go along with a couple of entries. I would if I was a director for any race that I had. So
It seems, I mean, we can talk about it at the race director meeting, but I mean, I have been the person who does fundraising at schools, and it seems reasonable that something like 2 race entries, it doesn't have to be like 1,000 race entries.
Right. No.
Usually they're happy, school auctions are happy to get a yes in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
so I don't know, often you throw in a bunch of races, an entry for a bunch of races, and you'll raise a couple $100 for that. So it's a pretty good no-brainer for us.
Cool.
All right. The next thing is the community outreach fund applications. We had 3 applications. One from Atkinson Running Club, which we have donated to in the past. One from Forest Grove Youth Running Club, which I think this is the first year they've applied. And then one from Park Rose High School dance team. And I know how I would like to vote. Just to let you know, we had budgeted 6,000. We have 2,042 left in the fund if we stick with the budget. Atkinson has requested 1,000, Forest Grove has requested 1,000, and Park Rose has requested 500. And looking at the applications and how they fit into our purpose and mission, I would recommend that we approve Atkinson and Forest Grove and decline Park Rose, and that would use up the rest of our, basically the rest of our community funds for this year.
Is that calendar 24?
Calendar 24, yes.
So we would have 3 months left, which we would not be able to give awards, but then we would start over in January.
Right. And the way the process works is they apply either in February for the March meeting decision or in August for the September meeting decision. So there's 2 times they can apply each year. So I wouldn't anticipate having any more applications the rest of this year anyway.
I would agree with your assessment.
And
Me too.
Did you ever hear back from Atkinson? I know that you said that it was for an upcoming club because what they submitted was their 2022-23 budget and their 23-24 budget, which is like they gave us their past information. They didn't give us what they wanted. So
Yes.
I found it a little, I sometimes find the applications a little confusing in the past. So we've had some where it's clear that they update it from the year before.
Yeah. I actually reached out to them and they said, yes, the request is for the upcoming year for 24-25. They have it written in their PTA budget for approximately $2,000. And she says, thankfully, our board understands the value of the running club and knows how much our kids love it. So we usually are able to receive full funding. However, our PTA has been operating at a deficit for the last several years. So having support for our club would really help alleviate some of the burden. If I received this grant, the money would specifically be set aside to support our club. We do not receive financial support from any other organizations. So that was granted.
So is that Atkinson School over in Southeast Portland?
Honestly,
I think so. Yes.
We're by Franklin High, right?
Yeah, I am geographically impaired,
Absolutely.
so I would not be able to.
Absolutely. I'm right with you there. I'd give them both. I'd give them the full 2,000 if we could, but but they're asking for 1,000. I'm right on board with that.
Okay. So okay, I would Susan, yes.
I agree with your thinking with Atkinson and with Forest Grove programs. I would be supportive of both of those for sure. And I personally know the crew that has been working with the Forest Grove runners. And I think they put a nice, they did a good job on the request, and they're good people. And the coach that wrote it, the young Birdall, his father is on the staff at the high school. And I've known that family for 20 years, and they're good people. I think it's going to, they're worthy. And I'd like to see that happening with all these young kids, supporting them so that you get into running.
Perfect. Okay, so do I need a motion then to?
I will. I'll make a motion that we provide funding to Forest Grove. Was it the cross country team or a running club? I'm sorry.
Forest Grove Youth Running Club.
Youth Running Club for $1,000 and Atkinson Running Club for $1,000.
I would second that motion.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, raise your hand or say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains? Okay, motion passes. So I will let them know, all three of them, what the result of their request is for. Cool. Thank you so much. Okay, so I guess I've already talked about the RD meeting this September, this Sunday, September 15th. Mark, was there anything else you wanted to mention about that one?
No, I mean, I've got an agenda, and so it's, you know, I don't want to go over all that here, but just to, you know, it is, of course, a meeting for race directors, but board members are also welcome to show up just to, so if they want to be better informed about what's going on. But I don't want to go too far in the weeds about that. It's mostly housekeeping kind of stuff, you know, what's coming up, budgets and yeah, kind of stuff. So
Having to know about our race pricing structure and things like that. So yep.
yeah, exactly. That's on there too. Yeah. Daniel, you are welcome. You're a race director emeritus, correct? Isn't that your title?
Okay. We'll go with that.
Okay.
All right, awesome.
Dated to current.
Next up was, I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at the draft of the policies and procedures that Julie and I worked on and sent out to you all. There was a little bit of an email discussion, and what we had wanted was, I'm trying to make it clear as to the documents that we'll be kind of using moving forward as an organization, because we've had several different ones. And so of course we have the bylaws, which we have to have approved. Any changes or updates have to be approved by members. We have a generic race director handbook that we use at our race director workshop, which is for both ORRC and non-ORRC events. Just helps people know what they need to be thinking about if they're putting on events. And our race directors can use it to help them. There's lots of useful information and stuff like that. And then this policies and procedures is what I would hope we would have. Well, this wouldn't need an approval of the members. It would just be something to update to help board members, race directors, and coordinators know how we work, you know, how to get reimbursed or what you can get reimbursed for, or how the meetings go, or just different things like how have the email policy, the Facebook policy, things like that. You know, there was a board manual that Stephen had prepared, but I didn't find it super helpful in terms of instruction. It was more kind of philosophical about what people would be doing as they serve on the board. What did you think, Mark?
I would agree, yeah, that having looked at the draft of the board of directors manual, it was so generic as to be mostly useless. But I guess I'm back to the question that the email discussion that we're having, which is like, there is an ORRC specific RD manual with, you know, and I guess I'm not sure how policy procedures fits, because, you know, I mean, you know, if, like I say, the bylaws are something that is a legal thing that the membership votes on. Okay. But everything else it's guidelines. It's how we do it. And we can change it whenever something changes. Okay. And that's how the RD manual is. And that's how policy procedures would be. So I guess I'm still trying to understand how this fits. You know, if we call the whole thing policies and procedures, okay, it would include a section specifically for race directors. It would include a section specifically for board members. It would include a section for policies that everybody should know. So in other words, the way I think I understand it is that the current org specific RD manual would become part of this policy and procedure manual. It would just be an RD specific section of that manual. Is that a correct understanding? Okay, because I don't want the document to go away. I just, if we just if we're combining it or reformatting it, that's fine. I just don't want that to go away because it's, we do need, RDs do need specific information for our club. So.
Yes. And what I would think is that because we don't need to have a lot of duplicative stuff in the RD section, it's in the generic RD manual, but we could have ORRC specific policies and procedures for our race directors and our events in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the next question is who's in charge of it? I mean, as far as ongoing updates, editing, that kind of thing, whose responsibility is that? I guess that's that's so.
My idea would be that initially, because it's kind of a new document, is that we would all kind of work on our little areas of expertise together. That's why it's in the Google form. So that like the volunteer coordinator could work on the volunteer coordinator section on things she thinks people need to know specifically about that position. For example, recruiting groups and things like that and how they work with the volunteer coordinator. Race directors or the race VP of race operations could work with putting the ORRC specific race director policies together. We as a board could look at the board member stuff and make sure it's all accurate and kind of create the document together. And then each coordinator or race director or VP of races would then be responsible for updating or maintaining maybe their section of the handbook and just come to the board and say, hey, I have some updates here. Can we get this updated and work with that? That's kind of what my thought is. So initially it's going to be a lot of work to get everybody to have input into create and then specific positions updating their sections. I think Valerie was going to be first.
Daniel had his hand up first.
Okay. Oh, Daniel.
I mentioned this before and I realized that if this is part of this, then I will immediately owe you 2 documents. But I feel like having a briefing sheet for each race that's 2 to 3 pages long. It's very short and sweet, but outlines each and perhaps they're a little longer for things like Vernonia and Turkey Trot. But simply in case I win the lottery and go to move to Vernonia forever, then somebody can just pick something up. I'm still reminded of when the walls came tumbling down in August, and after Mark spent his week trying to get the club back together, as soon as we said what's first, we had 3 races in 11 weeks that had absolutely nothing done on them. And so now we have to have, and if we'd had briefing sheets in place for that, we would have probably had at least a little bit of progress. So I would just simply say the process, I really liked the process. I know it was long and tedious, but when Carissa put together the bones of the bylaws, and we went through it line by line as a group, that was a little bit long and ugly, but it was very, very helpful, and it was done in a way that I think most people would appreciate, and I would have no problem. I mean, maybe we do it in small groups and everything and it comes together, but this is really long overdue. We did this, I think last time was Alan, 1996, something like that, right? I mean, it went back 30 years. I don't know if anybody's done it since. So, who knows, I might have on a floppy disk or something, that document from then, but we need to start over.
Yeah.
Good idea.
That's the real purpose of this, is so that we don't have to start from scratch and we can bring people in and we don't lose the knowledge that we have or we're trying to collect. Valerie?
Yep.
Margie has a hand and so does Valerie. So Valerie goes next and then Margie.
Yeah.
Well, to Daniel's point, I think I'm trying to get there with SDM, but I think it'd be really great to have like all the stuff in Google Docs, like the list of, well, there's an equipment list for each race. There's a list of all the things you have to, I mean, there's a generic list, but each race kind of has unique things. So just a way to save that in Google Docs. And then I didn't know if we were going over the policies and procedures, but someone wrote in lavender and I had some need for clarifications on what they put in here.
I haven't looked at it, so what do you know?
Oh, okay. And then I guess we're not going over it tonight then. So
No,
because
I was just gonna get people's initial impressions as to what we were doing and what they thought.
okay, then we'll skip that. Thanks.
Okay, Margie?
I just wanted to also point out, I love the idea about the sheet, process sheet or whatever it was that Daniel was mentioning. Love that idea, but also these should be living documents. And instead of saying, oh, okay, well, we'll review it at some point, make it an annual review. The people who are in those positions who have those like volunteer or membership or whatever, take your section. We'll anticipate any updates from you at the next meeting or whoever, or give them 3 meetings or whatever. But make sure it's a living document that has a deadline, a time and a place for those updates, so that it just doesn't kind of fade off. My suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Do we want to set-
I'm back to I still think we need somebody to be in charge, because this is it would essentially not to be in charge, but then to be a lead editor or whatever, because for this kind of thing, people need to be told, okay, this is your thing. I need, and give deadlines and that kind of stuff. Without deadlines, nothing gets done, and that needs somebody to be. Nag is the wrong word. Gentle nudges, to meet deadlines and all of that. I guess. Tracy, is that something you are willing to do, Tracy, to be the nudger or lead editor, whatever title you want to pick?
That sounds like a Julia thing.
Or the two of you. I mean, it just.
I really feel like this. I mean, this is what Julia does well, and Tracy's already leading the club.
Okay.
And I don't want to voluntold or volunteer anybody, but I know who's equipped to do this in our club right now, and who's not got it. I mean, isn't trying to be the president also. So
Yeah.
and when she has to consult with the president, I think she knows where she lives. So
Well, here's what I was thinking. And I agree it needs to be a living document, updated annually, that type of thing. And so what I was thinking was, if it's September now, if we told all the different coordinators and race directors and everybody looking at it to say, provide your input by the end of October, that gives people a month and a half to do their section. And we can also work on different sections that we know of and stuff. Then we could, Julie and I could work on it so that by the December meeting, we could work on it the month of November. By the December meeting, then we could look at it as a board and invite everybody else who has a piece of part of it to attend, and just say, this is going to be our document going forward. And then every December, before the new board starts, say, here is your updated policies and procedures document. Valerie, you raised your hand.
Accident.
Alan?
And I love that, and I would add one item, and that is for the race directors. And this is an item to put on each individual race director manual, to have an expectation of a revision for that race's manual 2 weeks after the conclusion of the race, because that's when you know what worked and what didn't.
Yes.
I think that sounds good. Okay, and we can bring that up at the RD meeting this weekend.
Yep.
Okay, that sound good to everybody?
Yep.
All right, so for your assignments, if you are you're all on the board, obviously. Take a look at what you think is relevant to you and make any suggestions for updates or corrections and get them to us by the end of October. We won't spend a lot of time at the October board meeting because we'll have other things to go over, but I wanted, but specifically, no,
I know budgets and
just November. So just kind of look through it and any updates or corrections you can get them to us. And that'll be great.
Cool.
And then mention it at the race director meeting. Awesome. Okay. Okay. Renewal of our mailing permit or just paying GISI for our few mailings. Did everybody get that information that we forwarded to you guys? We don't have the ODR anymore. We're not doing mass mailings. The only mailings we're doing are the magnet calendars, and if we have a mailing for a member giveaway. Those are the only two that we'd be doing. And so it makes sense for us to just say, okay, GC, you guys, we'll pay you to do this for us so we don't have to maintain the permit and we don't have to put money into the mailing account for the post office to mail stuff and everything. So what did you all think?
Makes sense to me. I mean, you know, we are mailing less than we used to, so why spend the extra money? It makes sense to me.
Daniel?
Agree.
All right. Reason I didn't want to write a really long email to respond to all of this. Do we ever, is the idea of a printed and mailed ODR, is that just gone? I mean, I have to tell you, I've got 5 organizations that used to send a newsletter. Now they've all gone to online newsletters. I don't read any of them. And I used to read them all cover to cover when they came in the mail. And I know it's a generational thing, and I'm on the generation that likes to read off of paper, but is this just never going to happen again?
Daniel, I'm the dinosaur of this group. Give it up. I love it like you do, but give it
I
up.
do too.
Also, I have to say, when I was looking at some old budgets a year or so ago, and we've spent a lot of money on getting those mailed out.
I remember a lot of the work, photos, going back and make sure you had people's names appropriate. Our editor and our desktop publisher spent a lot of time and energy on those. It was a lot of work. It was really wonderful, but you know, I think I have to agree with Alan. It's past. We love those, but you know, the quick emails are very informative. I appreciate Tracy and Julia's effort in putting those together, and I love reading the emails.
And I'll add 2 things. I'll add one thing, Daniel. In my professional associations, what I found is that the people who have been around forever don't read them, but the younger professionals actually are reading those electronic things.
I mean, I also know that when we were mailing this back, and I hate to say you use the phrase back in the day, but I know we would get 10% back because of address changes and people moving and not saying stuff. So I know there's a lot of mess. And I figured if we ever have anything like that, there's probably a better way to do it than having a postal permit. So I'm all for ditching the permit, and I'll have to get by on having the magazines, much as I just hate this. I call this killing my darlings, because the ODR was my showcase for years. So,
and I'm a tactile person too. I like the paper, but I've also, the work that was involved, we couldn't get the volunteer to do it, and it was an extremely costly thing. There's other things that I think we can spend our money on versus the ODR. So
Your steps to help protect the environment are greatly appreciated, Daniel.
Well, Tracy still has her paper running logs, so she has that. I have my paper running log.
I still got one copy of every ODR that I ever published. So when I was editing.
kudos to you, because it was a beautiful magazine and I did enjoy it. And I'm just old enough that I also love my print magazines and have some favorites I hold on to from various clubs. So it was a thing of beauty, and it was appreciated. And the emails are perfect for right now. I think they are. I agree. They're short and sweet.
All right, so I will let them know. We'll just go with them. The last one is event charities for Ralph's Run and Vernonia Marathon. Mark presented a list of charities he would like to donate to for those two specific events. That you didn't list any for the other event that you do. So I was just going with those two. Is that correct, Mark?
Well, Turkey Trot, felt that was a group decision. So, and Hague Road, I just figured donating to the community fund would be fine. That's the default charity is the ORRC community fund. And for Hague Road, I would default to that one.
Okay.
For Ralph's Run, Ralph suffered from dementia, so donation is for Alzheimer's. I forget the exact name of it. There's several, but I did my homework and they are a worthy charity. The website's incredible because it offers, you can donate money for research, but it says like, what if your family member has dementia? Here's resources, here's support groups, here's, I mean, it's an excellent, a worthy charity for that cause. And then for Vernonia, since the event takes place in Stubbs Stewart State Park and on the Banks Vernonia State Trail, it seemed appropriate for me, the charity for that to be Oregon State Parks, to support that specific park and all parks. So those are the two charities that I wanted to do for those two events.
So basically, last June, we said that any race director who wanted to donate to something other than our default, they would bring it to the board, and then we would just say yep or no or whatever. And I just thought these were perfect charities for those specific events. So I was all in favor of moving forward with him. And he could just give us the information we can update, sign up for that section if you all agree.
Oh,
Sure.
I move we approve the two charities in question.
I second that motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion passes.
Yay.
Go for it, Mark. You just get us the links and stuff. We will update that on there.
Cool. I'll do that.
Okay. So we don't have a recap of events because we haven't had any since our last meeting. So we just have upcoming events, which is Best Dam Run this weekend.
I think we're on track, huh, Mark? Mark and Hal and Bonnie and I met and went through all the logistics of it. So I think we're set to go. We'll be meeting at 9 o'clock on Friday. Get the trucks, we'll load up. We're going to go out there and set up what we can on Friday. And then we're all going to be out there bright and early on Saturday morning. And we're fortunate to have Mr. Cabelli as our announcer.
Yay.
Cool.
Awesome.
Love doing that. Love doing that. Thank you for asking, Valerie.
Oh, well, after shampooing, you handled our little ambulance incident. Pick.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see a lot of you there. I know Julie and I are going to help with registration and then also at the half marathon bib turnaround check thing.
You might see us in costume.
You might see us in costume.
That's so good. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, I don't know if that got shared, was that when I got the permit from PGE, even though we're not doing it again, at least for a year, they highly recommend that we pick a different time of year because of fire danger, and they expect that to be an ongoing concern each year. So it's just a recommendation if it comes back that maybe we pick spring or a different time of the year.
I don't anticipate us bringing it back, but if we have some people who want to be race directors for it.
Sure.
Well, we held the Clackamas River Canyon Marathon in April, and we couldn't get away. We had to shut that one down because of the floods took the trees out on the course. So I don't know I don't know if there is the right time of the year to hold that race.
All right, next up, Portland Marathon Expo. We need more people to volunteer. Alan has signed up for the first 2 shifts and Carrie has signed up for the last one. She has said she can sign up for an earlier shift if she needs to, but we definitely need some more people to help staff the booth. So
And I-
if you sign up.
I can do the 3rd shift also if you need.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you won't have to if we can get enough people out there. If we can't get enough people, then we'll send it out to the volunteers. We'll have Carrie send something out to our members and just say we need some people. If you're familiar with ORRC, come and staff the booth with us or something.
Worst case scenario, Tracy and I can do it, but we hate doing that. So please don't make us.
Well, also we're doing the race director workshop. So we're going to be setting up and then going to the race director workshop and then coming back. So it's kind of like, I think we're mentally dead by that point.
I'm sorry, you guys, I would be there to help out, but I'm gonna be in Europe, so
No, you've already said you were
tough.
sorry.
Where are you
Oh,
going?
sorry. I'm sorry, I'm going to be in Scotland, England, and Paris.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know it's tough duty. I just have to do it. I just have to work
Suck it
my
up.
way through the challenges.
So
Yeah.
Tracy, Julia, for next year or for future years, I mean, I know that you guys don't like going downtown any more than I do, but if you guys are going to be holding this, get a hold of the management for the Portland Marathon and hold it as an event. They used to have the race director symposium
Right.
that with it, and
We asked and they said they couldn't.
I
It
mean,
wasn't-
Alan and I went one year together, and we had a kick-ass time.
Yeah.
We got to meet Fred Lebo, and I mean, it was, and I mean, Alan's course from the Bronx too, so they were like talking about neighborhoods, and
Mhm.
but I mean, they don't want to add that, huh?
We asked because we were talking about partnering up with them again and doing all sorts of things, and they were all excited. And we said, can you just give us a small room for the race director workshop? And they said, no, we're all filled up with space. We can't offer that to you. And next year, we're not going to have it on the same weekend as the marathon anyway, so we're not going to worry about it. But Susan.
I had hoped that I could volunteer and take a shift, but I'm going to go back to Colorado. My daughter just had a baby a week ago, and I'm going to go help with a new baby. So
Congratulations.
Family first.
thank you.
Okay. Yes, you're
Sorry. Pretty
okay. So just thinking about that, then upcoming also the next event after Best Time Run is going to be Turkey Trot. Mark?
Turkey Trot is on schedule. I've got a new design. Well, the design for the beanies is going to be the same.
The design for the beanies is good.
And looking for a good color to go with that. Beanies are on order. Website's been live for a while. I think we're up to 350 registered already, so it's filling up fast.
We're at like 450 now.
450 now. Okay, I just checked a couple days ago, so it's filling up fast, and we will definitely hit our 2,500. Well before Thanksgiving. What else? Just kind of permits are good. We one of the conversations we had was about the cost, and I think you all saw in the email the response from the zoo that basically they have 3 rates, and we get the best rate possible for the condition. So, it is what it is. But we will continue to do the event there. Talked to Bonnie. She did. She did food. So at this point, Bonnie says, she's probably not going to move until next spring, but at this point, she does not want to commit to too much. So she's stepping back from Y2K and from Turkey Trot with helping with the food. So I'm looking for somebody. I'm thinking, possibly Carrie, because she's coming on to help with Ralph's run, to maybe have her take on the food for Turkey Trot. But as it gets closer, I'll be reaching out to people. As we all know, Turkey Trot is all hands on deck, and the way we did it last year, everybody had jobs, and be something similar to that, you know, and I think, you know, everybody, there's not too much to do before the race, day of, you just divvy up all the tasks and the work gets done. So, that's on schedule.
Mark,
Yes.
I will be back east for Thanksgiving, so I
Okay.
will be able to do the parking lot again.
Okay, yeah, when we get closer, I'll do a check-in to see who's available, who's not, and do some recruiting on that. You know, that year to year things that, you know, happen, so I get that. If I could jump ahead just a little bit, since we're talking about upcoming races, registration for Vernonia is already gone live. People like to register early for marathons and also for the 50 staters to let them know it's there. So it's Vernonia is already live on run sign up. Ralph's run, I'm going to have that live here in probably in a week or two for January. And if y'all have followed the email thread as far as the Hag Mud, Ryan's life has gotten too busy, so he's stepping back at least for 2025. So we have 3 people to co-RD it. I'm involved in Hag Mud kind of as a shadow RD, helping as needed. But we've got 3 good people, and we met once already to divide up the tasks. There's still a few more things to sort out, but you know, it will continue. And the big change, again, if you've not heard, for the Hag Mud is going from a 2-day event to a 1-day event. And but like I said, we got 3 co-RDs for that, and I will be involved, assisting as needed to make sure that goes off well.
And I think the other thing too, this is a good time to talk about it, is with our race calendar, is with Nikki resigning. Nikki was going to be one of the co-RDs for Hag Muds. There were going to be 4. Now there's going to be 3. It's going to be Mark Freese and Deb Brown and Susie Curtis. So we still have 3 for Hag Mud, like Mark said. But Nikki and Deb were also going to co-RD Autumn Leaves. So that leaves Deb without a co-RD for Autumn Leaves. And the question is, before we actually go full hog with our calendar for next year, is can we find another co-RD for Deb, or do we decide to not bring it back for this year? Because that would be a lot for one person.
You know me, I would, you know,
You've got turkey trot, you can't. You've got turkey trot, you can't.
Oh yeah? Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah? Oh, like the email that you got from Klamath Falls, and you said, well, we can't. I've already told her to call me so we could work something out, because
We told them to call. We have lots of good information. I just thought they're far away.
I just, you know, I'm just a girl that can't say no. So
yeah. What I appreciate that, Mark. I really do, because you can do so many good things. The concern I have is, one, it's right before Turkey Trot, and I think you're going to be super busy with that. But also, I don't want us to be a club that becomes what it had turned into be, where we had one person doing most of it.
One person does everything, yeah. Well, I'd be happy to resign from the board if I could only be a race director.
You can get a new RD.
I'm just putting that out there, you know.
Deb, how are you feeling? Deb, how are you feeling?
I mean, I wouldn't mind if we put the word out. I mean, honestly, in some ways, I think Autumn Leaves is probably an easier race to put on than Hag, just because only 10%. I mean, I'm not sure, but it's only 10% of it is on trail, and it's a loop course that it's a 10K loop course that you keep doing. So, but I will say that, I mean, all of you guys, like, you know, Valerie talking about, you know, oh, I've got this race and you've done Shampooey, and like, you guys sound so blasé. And as a new race director, I am properly scared. Because I've never done it before. So, and essentially we've got 3 new RDs because Mark didn't do any of the prep work last year for Hag. So, So, for me, it's the great unknown. I don't know what I'm getting into. The good news is they're both very far apart. So if we could get one other RD for autumn leaves, I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I would
say-
please suggest
say-
RDs for that one because they're a lot of work for two people, let alone one person. You know.
Do you think three?
Mark's his own thing out there, but everybody else I would strongly suggest. Mark surrounds himself with super volunteers.
Well, that's just it. I mean, how can I say I am like Vernonia. I am the one race director for that race, but by no means do I do everything. The secret is knowing how to delegate, and that's what I do. And same with Turkey Trot. You know, I do a lot of the upfront logistics, but the day of, it's all about delegating responsibilities. You know, so I'm not not Superman or anything like that, but just, I don't know. Deb,
Well,
I agree. Yeah, put out the word, let's find you a co-RD, and I could be a shadow RD for that too. Just, answering questions and all of that. So, but I think we should leave it on the calendar because races that go away are hard to bring back, and I'd rather have it stay on the calendar so it does come back.
There's no hope that Noel would want to come back and do it, is there?
I know he was willing to mentor, and what I can do is reach out to him. What I would also suggest is maybe we get into ultra sign up, because that's where registration was before for autumn leaves, right?
Yes.
And maybe send out an email to all prior participants and say, hey, we're looking for a new co-RD. We're bringing it back. If we can't find a co-RD, there's a possibility we wouldn't be able to, and just see if anybody responds to that as well who might be interested. Because I think there's a lot of people looking forward to it coming back. And so it's just a matter, can we get that enthusiasm into some people? And even put it in Mark's format too. It's like, even if you can't be a co-RD, can you at least be maybe a super volunteer responsible for one area or something like that? We can phrase it that way. It's not so intimidating.
So it sounds like we're going to keep it on the calendar.
We'll keep it on the calendar for now, do some outreach this week and next week and see what we can kind of drum up. And I will reach out to Noel and see if he'd be willing to come on. I don't think he'll be a co-RD, but I think he would be willing to help out.
Okay. Welcome, Joel, by the way.
Welcome.
I have a question. I could probably look it up, but I don't have it in front of me. What's the date for autumn leaves in 2025?
October 18th.
Saturday, October 18th, down at Champaign.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And the weather is always beautiful. It never rains, believe it or not.
I'm in negotiation with my boyfriend to see if maybe I can do a co-RD. I'll let you know by tomorrow if he's left me and I'm free, or if he's agreed.
Come on, Roy, we know you can do it.
I may have to find another place to live.
Can we bribe him with like a shirt or something?
We can bribe him with Halloween candy because that's what we serve at the aid stations at Autumn Leaves.
I can give you a little, I can give you a secret of what you could be bribed with, and that would be a good bourbon. Yeah. I don't know that we could put it in the budget, but that's okay.
A t-shirt.
Personal gifts off the budget, maybe.
So, Deb, I'll let you know how that goes. It's a discussion right now.
Why don't you give him a glass of bourbon before you ask him?
All tumbler.
Joel says I'd be willing to take a role in that race as well. Can't find the raise hand button. Absolutely, Joel, that would be great.
Great.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, and if we can get, if Joel, you can do it, and if Margie, even if you aren't co-RD, but you're willing to help out in a certain area or something, that would even be something that would be great. So, okay, so we will keep it on the calendar for now. Everybody confirm what you're willing to do, and then we'll update everything on the website and the newsletters and stuff like that before we send out the official announcements of that. Okay, awesome, thank you. All
Tracy, I have
Yes.
to take off.
right, we're done.
So I will
Okay.
see all of you on Saturday.
Saturday. Awesome, thank you, Alan.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I think that was basically it. I mean, we have our calendar of events ready. I've got the schedule sent to the magnet people, so they're going to send us a proof when we're ready to go. I think that was the next meeting. Just have the next meeting on Tuesday, October 8th.
November.
November. No,
No,
October.
wait, October 8th, you're right.
October, yeah. Yeah, we're still September. Don't get ahead of ourselves. Anything else for the good of the order before we finish?
Do we need any topics that we put on for the next board meeting?
I don't have anything right now other than the standard ones. But I'll get them to you. If anybody has any ideas for the topics, then just get them to Deb and we'll get them
I would
added.
only just say maybe some status reports on people that are going to be submitting reports for, just remembering that in October we have a deadline for budgets and for inputs into the PMP module or PMP manual.
The other thing that I would also say is we are getting ready to start gearing up for elections. And the 3 people who are leaving the board are Daniel and Alan and Margie, and of course Nikki, who's resigned already. The people who are going to be on the ballot so far that I've confirmed are Valerie's going to rerun for another 2-year term. Thank you, Valerie. Carrie Fleischer has said she would like to be elected to the board. Also, Kim Hartwell has said she would be pleased to run for election. I have 2 others who have said they're interested but haven't confirmed yet. That would be Anna Alig and Alicia K. Egan. I don't know if any of you know that. So we potentially have 5 people on the ballot for the December election. If those 2 don't, we'll have 3. So
Can you repeat those last 2 names? I didn't quite catch them.
sure. Anna Alig is A-L-I is the last name.
A-L what?
A-L-I-G.
She's good. She's a road runner, trail runner. She's one of my super volunteers for Vernonia. She's awesome.
How do you spell her last name?
A-L-L-I-G.
Or no,
Alig.
just A-L-I-G is what I have.
It's 1, 2. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, 1 L. Okay.
Anna Alig, and then the other person?
Alicia, and her first name is A-L-I-C-I-A. And then her last name is K-K-A-Y space Egan, E-A-G-A-N.
Oh, thank you.
They haven't confirmed if they're going to run or not. I've been inviting them to our meetings and they just don't know if they can make it or not. But I've also told them they can go and watch past meetings and see if they are, interested in that. So, but Valerie, Carrie, and Kimberly will for sure be on the ballot. We may have the other 2 on the ballot as well. So once I've confirmed that, I'm going to start asking them for their photos and bios and things like that. And we'll prepare the ballot for the December election. Their names
Cool.
in the news and stuff. So, Susan.
I wanted to, if I could, I told Tracy and I told Carissa, I was out of reach with connectivity for the last meeting. And so I listened to the recording of the meeting and it was awesome to hear all and get all the nuances, because when you read the minutes, it's you have a vote and you have a vote and you have a, and then you have another discussion and then you have a vote and a vote, but you don't get to hear anything. And so I really appreciated the recording. And if you ever miss a meeting, it's a great way to get caught up. And secondly, Mark, I would like to help with Turkey Trot and I'll be in town. But do you want me to go online and try to fill my name in somewhere, or do you want to be the one who assigns me?
Well, call me.
Call you?
Yeah.
You can email me.
Well, I'm just thinking in terms of what the jobs are, like to fit,
Right, right,
what your skill set is, because there are several things.
right. Well,
Call me.
you know probably what I would be able to help with. I mean, and so just put me where you think that I'm
Well,
most needed.
let's
fine with
talk.
that.
Call me. Let's talk.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Daniel, I kind of half caught what you're talking about Garrett. Garrett doing something.
You're on mute, Daniel.
It's not a story for this meeting, but him and I, I did some work for him, and he said he knew you, so we have a mutual acquaintance. I'll share the story another time.
Okay, yeah, he's on my Hood to Coast team and lives in Forest Grove like I do. So, yeah, cool.
Okay.
All right.
I think then we are all done. And Joel, you had a question you wanted to ask me outside of the meeting, so we'll stay on Zoom for a little bit. But otherwise, everybody else, we'll see you either this weekend, or we'll see you next month.
Okay.
I'll see you hopefully. Sign up for the booth.
Sign up for the
booth.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Okay, so we'll keep going with Joel. Hey, Joel.
Oh, can't hear
You're
you.
muted.
Oh, got it. I missed a lot. I'm sorry, but what was there anything with Vicky's departure? Is there anything I could help with that she was working on?
Well, the main thing we talked about, the two big things is she was going to be she was going to be co-RD for Hag Mud.
Okay.
They had 4 and now they're down to 3. I think the 3 with Mark as a mentor will be okay.
Okay.
And Ryan said he could still help, but he couldn't be a co-RD. So I mean, if you can help out at Hag Mud, even if you're not a co-RD, that would be really helpful.
Okay.
And then definitely the big question was autumn leaves. And if you can be a co-RD with Deb, that would be awesome.
I think that gives me enough time to not commit to something else and then have to back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just start out slow.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that, yeah, I'll kind of pencil that on the books.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I did autumn leaves one time, like a long time ago, and it was great.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of the shampoo runs before.
Okay.
So.
Oh, that's awesome. So you're familiar with the course too and everything and logistics. That'd be great.
Yeah,
And
perfect. Okay.
Noel has said he would be like a mentor, and also prior race
Henry.
Brett Henry. He lives in Idaho, but he has said he is would definitely help out
Okay.
as well. He and his wife Gail were co-RDs for a long time for that one, and he actually said he would come back to do it if we are.
Oh, okay, that's great. Okay, cool.
So there's lots of people who are willing to help and are enthusiastic about bringing it back. So
Yeah, nice. And I'm gonna help load the truck on Friday, and then I'm gonna do the run on Saturday. So
okay, well, are you doing the 10K or the half?
I'm gonna do the half.
All right, so we'll see you because we're going to be at the turnaround checking bib numbers.
Cool.
So.
I was like, I want to find a volunteer role this time that I can do the run. So that was what was left.
Absolutely. For sure.
All right.
Definitely. All right.
Cool.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Have a
Sorry,
Saturday.
I'm still at work, so I was like, we got done, and I was like, I could still jump on for like 10 minutes. So.
Hey, whatever works. That's right. We appreciate
All right. Well, we'll see you on Saturday.
All right. See you then.
All right.
Bye. Bye.
See you later.
Thanks, Carissa. Thanks, Carissa.
Oh, thanks. Oh, actually, should I keep the whole thing in the recording, including Joel's?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
That went under. All right. See ya.
All right. Bye.